Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is my review of the 2022 comic book superhero film Black Adam. Now, before I get around to sharing more of my thoughts on this film, I want to give a special shout out to Brock for once again requesting another review. And if there's another film, TV show, or topic that you would like to see me discuss in the future, feel free to donate to my PayPal. The link will be in the video description down below, and I'll try to get to it as soon as I possibly can. Now, Black Adam is a film that when it came out in 2022, I was not interested or enthusiastic about this film at all. Didn't like any of the trailers. Was very nonplussed and just not interested. I think in large part it's because I wasn't super familiar with Black Adam as a character. I definitely wasn't already an established fan of Black Adam, so I really could care less. Then you have The Rock involved, and I think he's turned into a crock of shit when it comes to his average performance in most of his latest films. And what I saw in the trailer didn't really seem like it was anything different. So, yeah, I was really not looking forward to this and not really expecting much other than a pretty bad superhero movie. And I will say this, I didn't hate it. I didn't hate Black Adam. I would necessarily say that I liked it though. It's like one of those movies where there are certain scenes that are entertaining and worthwhile, and there's a few other elements that are pretty effective or good. But there's a lot of other stuff in this movie that's just completely forgettable or just boring or bland. It's one of those movies where the overall quality of this would be acceptable like 15 years ago when we only had like a handful of blockbuster superhero films from major studios. But nowadays, this kind of quality when it comes to the writing and other aspects of the production is pretty much unacceptable. It's directed by Jaume Collet-Serra, and this is a director who has done some really dynamic and incredible films in his filmography. You've got the House of Wax remake, which was his directorial debut. You have Orphan, even something like The Shallows. But then you have Black Adam and some of the other films that he's done in his filmography, especially out of as of late, and out of his most recent output. And it's just one of those things where I really do wonder where the guy who did Orphan and House of Wax is, because it does not seem like it's the same guy. Because the direction in this is nowhere near as captivating, nowhere near as cool, nowhere near as unique as some of his earlier films. And I've heard some rumors from some people that the reason for that is not necessarily his fault. The reason for that is The Rock. The Rock decided to come in and basically ghost direct the movie, which I would not be surprised by considering this is a vanity passion project for The Rock in the first place. Now, the direction as it is, yes, for the most part, it's not very impressive. It's not very visually complex or interesting. Very stock. A lot of the shots are just kind of there. There's a few moments of movement. There's a few shots where the camera angles are utilized in a somewhat unique fashion. The action sequences when they are there are for the most part shot pretty well. Um, but there's a lot of moments like where it's trying to showcase the spectacle or the awe of the setting, and I don't really feel the direction really does succeed when it comes to trying to provide that particular merit to the film. It's just one of those things where the direction is pretty average, pretty run of the mill, which is fitting for this movie that is, in all honesty, the epitome of average. But yeah, you still when you look at the director, you still expect a little bit more than what you get. The screenplay by Adam Sestikel and Rory Haynes and Sohrab Noshirviani. Again, just because you have multiple writers, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get a quality product. It's the craziest thing that you would think that with more writers, with a film nowadays, that would mean okay, you got more writers, so more people, more visions that are involved with the screenplay, more folks who can check things and edit things that don't work out or are kind of clunky or not really that strong when it comes to the quality of the writing. But no, you got three writers and they write a screenplay that is generic, paint by numbers, and doesn't know how to commit to the the nature of Black Adam. And at the same time, there are a lot of moments in the script where it makes the film not even feel like it's a Black Adam movie. I mean, there are scenes where it just feels like it's a Justice Society. It's a Justice Society of America movie that features Black Adam. And when Black Adam is being overshadowed by the Justice Society in this screenplay, you've got a serious problem. And I think that's just an issue that you can really point to the structure of the script when it comes to why that's a problem with this film, because it's very scatterbrained and just kind of scattershot when it comes to its ideas and the premises and just the overall way the plot is set up. So it feels like it's a Justice Society movie, but then it'll switch gears into a Black Adam film. And so you don't really get the best representation of either side or either part of the story. And there's a lot of other stuff that doesn't even deal with Black Adam. It deals with these other characters. It deals with Adriana Tomaz and her kid, who who is a big fan of Black Adam and is involved with the overall plot and all the other craziness that's going on with various different characters. Um, and this is just one of those things where, yeah, with this character named Ammon. So you have Ammon and Adriana, and they take focus, and their group of insurgents or freedom fighters are also involved pretty heavily when it comes to the movie's plot. And there's an antagonist that is not necessarily that clear either, because for a good chunk of the movie, the antagonist is interpreted as Black Adam because the Justice Society is trying to stop him. And after that, then it's this militant leader of the Kondak division of Intergang named Ishmael, who then becomes another villain in Shabak in like the last like 30 minutes or so of the movie. And neither villain, neither antagonist really feels that strong either because of the way that the script is written. Black Adam doesn't come across as that strong of an antagonist despite their attempts to make it work, because the script doesn't really know how to make Black Adam a villain. It doesn't commit. And that was what I was worried about going into this film, is that, okay, yes, it's a Black Adam movie, but how are they going to do this? Are they going to commit and just make it a supervillain film and actually focus on the supervillain nature of Black Adam? Or are they going to try to have their cake and eat it too and turn him into some sort of anti hero because The Rock is playing him? And that's exactly what they did here. They turned Black Adam from a villain into an anti hero and tried to make you root for him, but at the same time showcased his other problematic and difficult qualities. So it just makes it so it's one of those things where it's very half-assed, where it's not really fully a villain arc, but then it's not really fully a heroic arc either, and it just does not really work. And then when it shifts gears to the Sabak guy and all of that, that's not that effective either, because there was so much time that was built when it comes to the script trying to build up Black Adam as some kind of main antagonist. And it's just a cluster. It's just a clusterfuck. It really is, of a script. It's just really not that well written and not really that well put together. There really aren't a lot of moments where the emotion really feels that heavy or strong, even though they're really trying to do that with Teth Adam and his backstory, and trying to do stuff with Adriana and her son Ammon, where he's kidnapped by the bad guys by the end of the movie, and she and the Justice Society and Black Adam have the team up to try to save the kid. And I would say, out of any of the dramatic moments, I guess I would really say the stuff with Hawkman and Dr. Fate are probably the few moments in this script that actually carry some real weight. And I think that's because those two characters are the ones that are written the strongest. They have the strongest arc, they have the strongest bond, and it really does make you think that maybe they would have been better off just making a Justice Society movie instead of making it into a half Justice Society film and a half Black Adam movie. And I will say this, there are some things that I did like about the script other than just some of the stuff with Hawkman and Dr. Fate. I I did like how Black Adam, when he was involved in an action sequence, he was very brutal. He was very violent. There was a definitive edge to him, and it was like cutting people up, like ripping people in half. There was definitely a sense of genuine darkness. When it comes to the way that the character was written, so you could definitely see the supervillain nature in him. But then they tried to soften the character by having the bond with him and Ammon and all of this, and try to make him the comic relief, and try to make the Man in Black sent you a thing, and it doesn't work. And speaking of things that don't work, that's a lot of the humor in the script too. A lot of the humor is just not funny. The stuff with Adam Smasher really sucks. I didn't find that character funny at all. I found him mostly annoying. That character and the way that he was written really felt like a transplant from an MCU or a Marvel movie, just because of just the way that he said his lines, and just the way that he carried himself and the way that the character was written. Um Cyclone is a nothing character. I read that they were going to have Stargirl, but then they decided to put in Cyclone instead. I think that was a mistake because Cyclone sucks. Uh, she blows. And yeah, the villain, it doesn't have a good villain. It doesn't have a good antagonist because Black Adam isn't a strong antagonist because they never commit. And Sabak is a really shitty antagonist because he's just this generic terrorist guy. And then he goes to hell and makes a deal with the devil and becomes poor man's darkness from Legend. Tim Curry, this guy ain't, and the script doesn't really help because other than him being this demon with all these powers of hell, there really isn't much about this character that is intriguing. There really isn't much about this character that makes him I feel like that formidable of a foe, let alone a memorable one. Oh, he's the descendant of the king from all those years ago that was killed by Teth Adam. I'm like, who gives a shit? I don't care about that. Like, oh, he's a descendant of a descendant. It's not really that compelling. So yeah, that's honestly a good way to put the script. It's not very compelling. It really isn't. It's not a very compelling script by any means. And it's also just so uninspired and just feels cut and paste or paint by numbers when it comes to the way that things are set up, even with the finale with the evil and the fact that Black Adam has to be broken out of the prison and given confidence to be a hero from by Dr. Fate. And speaking of that whole like third act, like the point leading up to that just makes it feel like the movie is over. Like the way that it's structured when Black Adam gets essentially told to back down after he saved Ammon and he risked his life, and now he's bonded with Hawkman and some of the other members of the Justice Society, and he agrees to say Shazam and give up his powers and get sent to super jail essentially. And then you're like, okay, Amanda Waller's got her man. Movie over, right? No, because then there's still like 30 minutes left, and that's where you get Sabak and Black Adam having to fight Sabak because the Justice Society isn't enough on their own to beat this generic demon villain. And then you have an ending where they try to throw in Superman. Superman shows up, complete with the Superman theme by John Williams, which does not fit at all with this particular approach to the DC universe. So Superman shows up. He's gonna try to keep Black Adam in check because Waller agrees that he can stay in the city and protect it as long as he never leaves. Otherwise, he's gonna be a target, and it's all setting up for more films featuring Black Adam or films that feature Black Adam fighting Superman or Shazam, which Black Adam is more of Shazam's, Captain Marvel's villain than Superman. Why wasn't Shazam there? It just seemed like just random fan service. Like, oh my God, there's Henry Cavill as Superman, and it would have made more sense that you'd have Zachary Levi show up because Black Adam is Shazam is a Shazam villain. So I don't get it. I don't understand. And I know the original intent was to have Black Adam in a Shazam sequel, and that's really what should have happened to begin with. It just makes more sense than giving Black Adam his own movie. Because Black Adam by himself, I guess, to me, from what I saw with this script and with this overall film, is not compelling enough for his own movie. So that's why the Justice Society is thrown in there. And that just ultimately does a disservice to both, to Black Adam and the Justice Society. So yeah, just not the best script. The cast, I really want to get into Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, as Black Adam. He's got the size, he's got the physique. You would think that he would have the screen presence to really make this character soar, but that's not the case. Once again, Dwayne Johnson, he is flat, he is boring. The charisma that was just undeniable when he was in wrestling and even early in his career, it's gone. I don't know what happened. Did his charisma get sapped by all of the muscles that he gained over the years? Is that it? Was that the price that he had to pay? If that's the case, it wasn't worth it to get all those traps and to just get all those just super biceps, Dwayne, if it meant that you lost your charisma. You look at this character, Black Adam, and you compare it to The Rock and WWE, and it's just night and day. It's hard to believe that it's the same guy who's playing this character. Just dour, just sour and just sad and just bland and bad. Just a really lackluster performance by Dwayne Johnson as Black Adam. Uh, Aldis Hodge, I thought, ran circles around him as Hawkman. I thought he was great. He was one of the few genuinely good things about this movie. He did such a good job as Hawkman. I want to see I'd rather see the Hawkman movie. That's honestly how I felt, and that's how I feel. I would rather see the Hawkman movie than Black Adam. Noah Centineo as Atom Smasher, awful. Just trying way too hard to be funny and just failing miserably. I don't really feel the chemistry with the rest of the cast was really that genuine either or that strong. Sarah Shahi as Adriana Tomaz. Okay. Decent enough as the resistance fighter who's trying to fight for Kahndaq, who becomes an ally for Adam and the Justice Society. Marwan Kenzari as the villain, Ishmael and Sabak. Just terrible. Trash, garbage, generic as fuck. Nothing memorable about his performance. No charisma, no charm, just nothing. I mean, to be honest, he had the same screen presence as like terrorist number 5 in True Lies. You know, like a terrorist who has like one line of dialogue in that movie before it gets blown away by Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's really how I felt about that performance and that character overall. Uh, Definitely cannot hold a candle to Tim Curry in Legend. Quintessa Swindell as Cyclone. That's it should be Swindle because her whole performance in this is a total swindle. Just a really weak, just unmemorable role and performance overall. Didn't buy the chemistry with her and the rest of the cast either. Didn't help either that this character was super lame and had this power that just looked just completely unimpressive on film. Like oh, I spin really fast and it's all in bright colors. Just really didn't do anything for me. Pierce Brosnan though as Dr. Fate, fantastic. I loved Pierce Brosnan in this. He pretty much stole the film along with the actor Aldis Hodge as Hawkman. Both of them were so good together that I honestly would have loved to have seen them have more screen time or get to see scenes involving how they started the Justice Society or when they first met. Like, I really did feel the drama and the weight of their friendship and ultimately the fate of Dr. Fate. Like, that really did speak to me and it really did hit me in the heart. And I think in large parts because Pierce Brosnan, he just did such a great job with playing Kent and playing Dr. Fate. And I'm also a little biased, I gotta be honest, because I've always been a fan of Dr. Fate. I really think Dr. Fate's a pretty underrated comic book character. So it was really, really cool to see Dr. Fate on film. And I think they did a really good job representing him and bringing him to life with Pierce Brosnan. Uh, the only other people I want to mention is Bodhi Sabawangi as Amon, the teenage son who befriends Adam. I I guess he was tolerable, but it didn't help that the character was written in a way where he felt like a cast off from a 90s movie, complete with a skateboard. He's skateboarding around everywhere, and he's got googly eyes for Black Adam, like he's the kid from Last Action Hero. Um, but yeah, it's just there. Mohammed Amir plays the brother and uncle, Kareem, who is he's the comic relief in the film, and they're trying to do something with this guy, but it didn't do anything for me. Uh, but yeah, that's really about it for the cast. And the film features some other elements uh, that are what I would consider technical elements that I want to mention briefly. The cinematography by Lawrence Sher, not really anything that special. It's okay, just like so much of this movie. It's not cinematography that's gonna make you just go wow and just really just find it to be something that is just astonishing to look at. It's serviceable enough. It's decent. I feel the same way about some of the editing by Mike Sale and John Lee, but not all of it, because there are quite a few sequences when it comes to the editing in this where it's pretty bad. Like, it really detracts from the action sequences because it's so just choppy and wonky looking, and it's just cut in a way where it's just too fast to the point where you don't really feel like any of these action sequences or these fights really have a good flow to them, because it's just very bumpy and just rocky and just makes for a very kind of awkward watch at times to watch how things are edited. It's too frenetic. And I really feel that the editors should have been taken aside and told to like kind of tone it down a little bit, because these cuts really didn't help these sequences. Um, what Black Adam was doing in these fights and all of this throughout the movie when it comes to an action scene, it was intense enough. You didn't need editing to try to compensate for anything. So it just came across like the editors were overcompensating for something that the film wasn't even lacking in the first place. The score by Lauren Balfe I thought was really good. I really like the score for this. I would say definitely one of the better scores when it comes to DC films as of late for me personally. The Justice Society theme in particular, as well as like the Black Adam theme and just a few other bits. I really thought this was a pretty solid score. There were some moments where it was not necessarily the most memorable or the most strong, but for the most part, I felt like the main themes in particular I thought were really good, and I would say those were definitely another element of the movie that I thought really was very strong and held its own pretty well. Um, the film, it's 125 minutes and it does drag. It really does because of the way that the script is structured in terms of how scenes play out and how different plots and different things come together. And yeah, it doesn't help that you don't really have someone that you root that strongly for other than Dr. Fate and Hawkman, who are in and out of the movie. And when it's trying to make you root for Black Adam, it doesn't work because of the way that the character is written and the way that the character is portrayed by Dwayne Johnson. Then, when you had trying to have any sort of tension involving a looming threat with the terrorists or Sabak, none of it really carries any significant weight. And honestly, the film is kind of fitting when it comes to it just being so uneven because that is the very foundation of this rendition of the DC cinematic universe. It was uneven from the start because it was built off the back of Batman versus Superman, which was not a very solid foundation. So it's kind of fitting that you have an uneven film that essentially put the final nail in the coffin for a uneven franchise. But anyway, I don't really know what else to say about Black Adam except thanks for watching my review. And until next time, I'll see you later. See ya.